Hello, big beautiful world. This is Warwick Mock-Mahone reporting to you live on the very first edition of SCA 101. This is the first video and hopefully a long line of videos that are going to explain to you what the SCA is and how you can get involved. As it is, those are the first two questions I'm going to be tackling in this first video. What is the SCA and how do I get involved? Many of you have found out about us via a coworker who may have mentioned the SCA and told you to check it out. Or maybe you were walking through a park and you saw a bunch of people beating each other up with sticks and you were like, that looks like fun. What are they doing? However you found out about us, we're pleased as punch to have you. We can't wait for you to get started. So let's just dive right in. A little bit of backstory about me. I have been playing in this world since I was 13. I've been playing over half my life. As a matter of fact, I actually played when I was younger. I did Boffer, which is the young little kid fighting, with the foam swords and the armor. It was amazing when you are 8, and then when I got back into it, when my father reintroduced me to the world because he was a lifer. He's been playing for 30 years now, 25 years, something like that. So he got me into this world when I was 13. It was an amazing place. It helped shape me into the man I am today. I have very high values on honor and my own personal code of ethics, which is something that I think is helpful to society. That's something that we've lost a good code on how to give young men that. Excuse me. So I think this world is fantastic about being able to give that back to the younger generation, men and women. This is completely universal. Everyone of any creed, faith, or religion, anything, is welcome here in this world. That's one of the things that's so great about it. It was started over 50 years ago by some hippies in Berkeley, California, as a matter of fact. They were hanging around, and they were history majors, I believe, all wondering, wouldn't it be just so great if we could just dress up and do this? So they did. And it has evolved from there. It has actually gone from simply a small thing in California to an international game. There is a kingdom located in every state in the U.S. There are kingdoms in Canada. There's kingdoms in Europe. There's the newest kingdom, I believe, that has popped up is in China and in the Philippine Islands. There is an international passion for what we do, and one of the reasons I think it is because it's so vast. All of the hobbies that encompass this one hobby, it can have you entertained for the rest of your life. Beadwork, textiles, sewing, fighting, drumming, dancing. There are literally limitless numbers of things to do in this world, and that's one of the draws of it. You literally get to help found a society. Getting into it, the SCA stands for Society of Creative Anachronism. Notice the first word, society. We are all-encompassing. When we have events, which are the things you can go to, there's typically weekend events or week-long events. The largest is known as PINZIC. It is 2 weeks long. It's in Pennsylvania. It's mind-blowingly huge. Excuse me. It is an amazing place. Any of the places you find yourself in, wherever you find yourself, the society is amazing. So the easiest way to hop on board and to find out where your local groups are and how you can get involved with them is to check SCA.org. That is the website where we put everything. Any of the positions that people are going to be holding, we'll get into that in a later video. Any titles that people have, any awards that they've won, you can find on that website. Any upcoming events that will be either in your area or anywhere in the world. All of the events are typically put up there, all of the information, everything. When you first get on there, what you're going to do is you're going to find your kingdom. It's going to have a big list of them. You're going to go up in that little bar up there, go through the options. One of them's going to be either find your kingdom or locations. It'll say something, you'll ping on it, click. There'll be a list of all the kingdoms, and they'll explain where those kingdoms are. So you can find where your closest group are. You're going to click on the kingdom. It's going to take you to the kingdom's website. That kingdom website is going to break up where the baronies are, where the practices are. So anything you want to do, got to be written out there for you. Boom, plain as day, so that you can find where any fighter practices are, if there's any drum or dance practices, where they are, the arts and sciences, which we typically refer to A&S. So anytime you hear A&S, that is arts and science, which means exactly what it sounds like. If it was an art or even a science back in the day. So anything that involved calligraphy, which is like the fancy painting, scroll work, any kind of loom working, like making, weaving any kind of belts or outfits, making anything, jewelry. I could go on for days about A&S. Anything that falls into an art or a science. You might think, does that, I'm just going to make a thing, I made porridge like they made back in the day. That is a science. If you document how they made porridge back in the day, boom, A&S. The science of food, essentially. So, cutting back, I apologize. I digress a lot. I actually have another video on all of the things to do in the SCA. It is completely just the most vast hobby you can have under one umbrella. So, the main thing is to go on, getting back to my original point, SCA.org, find your local kingdom, find your local barony, find your local groups and practices, because from there, you can just jump right in. Let people know, hey, I'm new, I'm wanting to hop in, I'm seeing if you guys maybe do this particular thing. One of the most popular ones is the fighting. It is the most common. Typically, there will be a fighter practice just about everywhere. Even if you don't want to fight, that is a great place to meet people. Go there and say, well, I'm not really a fighter, but I went on the website and I saw there was this practice, and I wanted to talk with you guys about blah, 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 blah. How do I get garb, which is the fancy clothing that we have, the medieval clothes. They don't necessarily need to be fancy. To explain a little bit more about the SCA, to bounce all over the place so I can confuse you thoroughly before you leave this video, the SCA covers from 5th century AD to, it was originally 15th century, but we've moved it out even further now. So it's now 17th century. So Pirates of the Caribbean is now officially period for us. So anything from 5th century, which is very basic, just no real fancy frills or anything on the garb, it's all basic patterns. Lots of grays, lots of neutral tones. Very, very simple. All the way up to, I believe we do hit the very back of the Renaissance period now. So those of you that do like the big royal, elegant, regal dresses, there's a bunch from many other periods you can draw from. I would actually suggest looking into the what is Czechoslovakia now? That the Prussian and the Russian and the it's not Scandinavian, but that, check all of that, because they have very ornate stuff. There's ornate things everywhere. So if you want to go big and fancy, you can go big and fancy. If you want to go like the show of the Vikings and just do like, just the plain tunics with an axe, all of that is workable. The important part is to meet and greet, find your newest, best friends, find all of the people that are going to be helping you in this world, and kind of figuring out some ideas from there. Everyone in the SCA has a billion ideas of things that they want to do, but they haven't gotten to yet, or they started doing it and they put it down, or what have you. So the important part is to meet the people and then to just start talking. We are huge geeks. If you get us talking about anything that it relates to our persona or anything like that, if you mention a fighting thing to a fighter, you better have an hour ready to sit and listen to them talk about fighter things, because this is such a passionate world. You don't have to be afraid of feeling like you're going overboard. This is one of the only places that we're like, if you're not going overboard, we'll throw you overboard. Like, Sink or swim, buddy. Like, this is the most fun you can have anywhere. Because if you want to beat people up, you can do that safely and effectively. If you just want to hang out and drink, we can do that safely and efficiently. If you want to bring your family, there's such a huge environment. It's a small town shows up for an event. So you can have a kids' corner. You can have a drinker's row. You can have drums. You can have a fighter pit over here. It's a massive thing. So anything that you think of, can I bring this to this world? Almost assuredly, yes. There's only a couple of things that we have in our rules, our Kapora, that's our name for our rule book, the Kapora, that you can't do. And those are almost always for health and safety reasons. I'm trying to think of an example. Most of them relate to fighting or any things like that, just to keep people safe. There's, I'm sure, some that don't relate to fighting. Once again, all in Kapora. I just can't think off the top of my head. But I think this is a good end for that. I wanted to stress, come out and have fun. This is a game, and it's one of the most exciting games you can be a part of. So, come out and have fun. Be safe doing it, which is our number one thing. We've made all of our rules about it. Talk, because everyone is inviting. If you meet someone who's not inviting, there's a 3% chance of margin, which in most, in the real world, 1 out of 10 people is an a-hole. So you meet 1 out of 1 out of 300. That's a pretty good ratio as opposed to the real world. So don't let anything discourage you. This world is made for everyone. Come in, have fun, and welcome to the game, baby. I'll be seeing you.